What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast on the Nothing But Net radio channel on Dash Radio. And I got a special guest with me, someone that I've had on the show before. He's been a part of my NBA mock drafts, and someone that who's really helped me with the draft process, and his knowledge is just someone. He's just someone I really respect, as far as everything NBA and NBA draft. So I got Richard from Mavs, aka Mavs Draft on Twitter. Richard, my man, what's going on?
I'm excited to be back. It's been a while. Dude, I'm happy to be done with 2020 with the draft and the year almost, like one more month. So it's a nice way to wrap it up.
Yeah, man. Like 2020 is almost done, but I'm sure you're really happy that the 2020 draft is finally done with. It's passed, and it feels like everyone was covering it for years. It feels like we knew these prospects, we knew what time they woke up, what they ate for breakfast, what time they go to sleep, all this stuff. Like it was a crazy 2020 draft, but I'm sure we're finally done with it. I'm sure you're finally relieved, and just you never want to hear about the 2020 draft again, I'm sure. But just talk to me about just it finally concluding. It probably felt like a huge, like a relief that it's finally done. I mean, I'm sure it was fun evaluating, but I'm like, you're probably like, all right, I'm finally over this class.
Yeah, it was definitely overanalyzed. I feel like I won't ever know a class as well as I knew that class.
Yes.
So like that's good and bad.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for 2021. It's such a different change of pace. More star power. Not as deep sacrifices some of the bottom, but I feel like the top 10 is just so much more electrifying than the 2020 draft, and it's going to be a fun class again. But most importantly, I mean, it's only like a week till training, or actually training camp's like this week. Yeah. So we'll see these rookies. I mean, this is like almost quicker than summer league. Like it's like around that time that we see them. We're seeing them in the NBA like ASAP. So I'm sorry to go off on a tangent, but I'm interested to see like what the what's it called, learning curve looks like for these rookies.
Yeah. What do you think is going to be the biggest adjustment for these guys? Usually, like, obviously we know there's a summer league, and then, you go through preseason, and then boom, season starts. So there's a process. This year, that process is obviously vastly different. So what do you think these guys are going to get themselves into? It was a weird, obviously we know that it was a weird draft process, something we've never seen, right? A lot of these guys didn't get to a gym for a long time. A lot of these guys didn't get to physically meet with teams. Zoom. I mean, it's hard to do Zoom meetings, when you're trying to see, about a guy's pull-up jumper and stuff. You can't really, do stuff as far as that. But how do you think these guys just, get themselves ready for that? Because it's boom. It's, you draft, boom, and then, regular season's right around the corner. So it's like, these guys got to go quick. So how do you feel that adjustment's going to be for these guys?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Again, the learning curve, I think, is the thing that's just affected the most. Some of these guys come in right away. They get like the way, at summer league, they're always going to be the best guys, especially the first round picks. Mm-hmm. Those guys are going to be head and shoulders better than everybody else. They get that confidence booster, get to show off what they got. They have a long time to work in with coaches. This time they get probably, with COVID, maybe a week. I mean, I'm sure. Like, who knows how many facilities are even open right now? Like, who knows what's under the table and whatnot? But I don't know. I don't know, I don't know if these guys will better than normal or worse than normal. I'm leaning towards worse than most rookie classes. Mm-hmm. But I would not want to be in that situation.
No, and it kind of reminds me of football. Like we see a lot of the rookies, have trouble adjusting. Obviously you get some guys who are thriving no matter what. But for most of the guys, they're it's an adjustment. And I feel like it's probably going to be an adjustment. We're going to see some sloppy basketball early on, overall, but especially with a lot of the young guys. But it's going to be interesting to see because everything's boom, boom, boom right away, right? We're everything's going so fast paced, and it just feels like we just finished, seeing the Lakers win the championship, and then boom, we get right into the season starting, not too long after that. But it's like for a lot of teams, like my New York Knicks, we haven't seen them play in a long time, so it's going to be interesting to see how they come along and all that. But I won't get too much into the draft because I know you're tired of it, but were there any surprises of this draft where, players wise, that, guys are going too high, do you think, or too low? Even though this draft was kind of a draft, like we've talked about numerous times, where the ranges, for guys were all over the place, right? From 20s, some guys bring the 20s and the 60s and all that. So were there any surprises for you in this draft?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one above all was probably, I mean, Isaiah Stewart going, what was it, 16th was absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Um, I really didn't expect to see Mason Jones go undrafted.
Yeah.
Um, Jalen Smith, actually, that's probably the biggest one. That was the first reach. I had him 35th on my board, so I would
Mhm.
not have touched him even. I thought, the rumors of the Wolves getting him, I thought that was a reach. That was really interesting to me. The other one, I really thought Sadiq Bey was going to get a lottery. I thought he was going to be one of those late night low key risers.
Mhm.
Obviously, didn't happen. And then the other one, I hope this doesn't come across the wrong way. My theory for a long time on this guy, I had him number 5 on my board, was Cole Anthony. That there was no way, if you watch the tape and like basketball for the most part, like you can go some ways, but I don't think you could have ever. I don't really think there's ever justifying putting Cole Anthony like 25 or below, like some of these people had said NBA teams had. I thought that was absolute
That's
BS. I was like,
insane. That's insane.
I was like, what basketball are you watching? Like, if you don't know how to watch, maybe you see it that way. But
Mhm.
like it was so obvious this team was so bad. And my theory was the team that, like, outside of the lottery, maybe like Orlando was always the team that pegged me as, wanting him. Um, fell right in their lap. He's absolutely perfect. I think he was one of the best value picks. It was awesome to see it actually happen. And I don't mean to use that as like a platform to brag,
Mhm.
because that's not what I'm trying to say. But it was just remarkable to hear that, people thought he would go in the 20s or thought he should go in the 20s. Like, I think we both agreed on Cole, right?
Yeah, of course. I just I don't get why people were so low on him and stuff. It doesn't. I feel like a lot of people who evaluated Cole just looked on the numbers and just saw the inefficiency and but didn't actually watch what like happened at North Carolina and the lack of spacing and just not having, guys who can create shots and help him. There was a lot of games where he's just doing too much because he has to do too much. So it's like you have to watch the game and actually understand, okay, why did he shoot 38% from the floor? Like it's, I feel like not enough people did that. They just look at the stats and like, oh, he's inefficient. Bam, that's it. And
Yep.
it's like, whoa, 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 whoa! Like this guy's really good. Like he's one of he was. I know it's high school, but he was an amazing high school player. If he came out of high school, he's a top 5 pick. So in a way, and I've talked about this a lot too, that sometimes college can hurt you in a way. And I think for Cole's sake, it hurt him in a way where if we had the process where you go straight from high school, he's a top 5 pick, and now he goes to college for a year and he's a he still gets a first round pick, which is great, but he goes lower than expected, right? Because I feel like he was a higher talent. He should have been higher selected, but we'll see. I think he's a player. He's one of those players too that when he gets to the pros, he's going to excel because the game's faster. And I think that's his type of game. So I think Orlando got themselves, with not knowing, how they truly feel about Fultz. Now they have their security blanket. If they don't see Fultz as a long-term point guard, boom, you got Cole Anthony. So I think
Yep.
Orlando really hit this big time. And I think a lot of people with Cole, they just I don't understand why they don't like Cole, but he went into a good position in Orlando and hope for the best. But I like you said, I don't get why people. I saw him for some people in the 30s, and I'm like, all right, that's it. I can't take it serious. I just can't. How do you watch that and be like, and you have him in the 30s? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. No, and dude, I mean, there's a part of like watching games and scouting that's just, you can't take everything literally. Like, not
Mhm.
every 5 of 15 is the same 5 of 15. Like,
Exactly. You
if
have
you
to
have
work.
10 shots that roll in and out, that's just unlucky. You have
Mhm.
10 shots that brick that are not even touching the rim. One of those is worse than the other. Not all stats are made equally, and like that's the value of watching the games. And like you said, the position was just so bad, and I do think Cole is one of those guys that steps in and immediately because of the situation and everything. Like, Orlando was the perfect team for him. I do think he has a chance to win Rookie of the Year, and I don't think that's really a reach to say.
Mhm. Yeah, no, definitely not. I think he's gonna thrive at the NBA. I think in the bloodlines too. Like, I know. by like his dad was a pro. Like he was surrounded by pros his whole career, like
Yep.
working out with pros, and you see the athleticism. And I'm just like, I think he's going to be a good one. I think he's really going to be a good one. I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, if he's in that rookie of the year, discussion, because I think, I think Orlando got a good one. So, good for them that he dropped. But a lot of teams might be looking back at that like, damn, we should have just we overdid it with him. We overdid it, and that's probably with all the time they had. I think there's just especially with him, it feels like with him, just a lot of people were down on him. Like for the most part, especially on draft Twitter and all that, everyone would look for reasons to not like him instead of looking for reasons to like him. And I felt like that kind of,
Exactly.
and maybe, GM just saw that too, but I think Orlando got a good one for sure. So we'll see. How do you feel about the Knicks taking Obi Toppin at 8?
So I didn't like the fit with Obi. It's not. I don't like Obi's fit for New York.
Yeah.
I thought maybe going Kyra would have been the better route. Kyra. I mean, I still like Cole at 8. I thought a lead kind of cornerstone guy, because I feel like Obi's a complimentary piece. But remind me who the Knicks, because the trades are just so confusing. Who did the Knicks get second? Because Emmanuel Quickly.
It's
that's
a
right.
Quickly,
Just him and Quickly, right?
Yeah.
I loved pick. I'd heard, before the draft that he was not getting past the Knicks, and I thought maybe it was going to be like the second round. But man, I knew the Knicks loved him. That was a great pick, and I do think that there's a legit chance Quickly is the best prospect from Kentucky. I don't think that's even a hot.
Yeah. A lot of people have said that.
I mean, everybody forgets he was the SEC Player of the Year. At least year 100%, he's the better player. He can handle the ball. He really never got to be the point guard that he was in high school at Kentucky, because the whole time he was there, Ashton Higgins was there as a freshman, dominated the ball, and Quickly just wasn't really good as a freshman too. And then last year, Tyrese Maxey was another point guard. So they had 3 point guards, and he was the one who had to sacrifice the most. So I love that pick with the Knicks. Does everything, has potential on defense, really no flaws in his game.
Do you see that potential at point guard with him? And maybe
I don't think
maybe that was why maybe the Knicks didn't go for a point guard. Because I agree. I thought the Knicks should have. I thought they should have probably took a point guard atop, but I think their guy was Hayes. And Detroit, obviously, Chicago changed the whole draft, in my opinion, when they took Patrick Williams.
Yep.
They kind of messed up everything. Where I thought like Hayes is definitely going to go to the Knicks, and because I thought, all right, Cleveland's going to take Toppin, and then we'll get Hayes, but Chicago went up and did all, they exploded the draft with that pick. But that's what I thought. I thought Killian was going to be the guy for the Knicks. But do you think Quickly has potential? Like, I know he can handle a little bit, but can he have the potential to be a lead guard?
So that's actually, I don't know how I never thought of that. That is actually a really good perspective, that they were just that high on him. I don't know if he's a lead guard. I think he can run the offense at times though, and it's a nice gap stop. And at the least, if and when the Knicks become like a winning team and things like that, they have a guy who you can never have enough ball handlers. Exactly. And especially you can never have enough ball handlers that can also play off ball. That's a pretty rare thing to have. So I when you put it like that, I actually really do like that. And I do think him and Toppin could eventually work long term together, pick and rolls, things like that. I mean, Toppin's a good passer too. Which could find Quickly shooter.
Yeah. We'll see. I know they really like Toppin and the CAA connections and all that. So and Quickly, obviously, the Knicks are trying to make themselves the New York Wildcats. They try to get a whole bunch of Kentucky guys. They got a lot of Kentucky guys on staff and all that. So that made sense. I really like Quickly too. He was growing on me, later in the process. As someone who I kind of liked more than Maxey, especially it fit in New York. I thought Quickly, what he could do defensively, his shooting and his free throw shooting too. He's a lights out free throw. I don't think people realize that, like, especially with the Knicks, who are poor, like not a good free throw shooting team, and a lot of late, a lot of late misses, late in games of free throws. So I think he could bring an element of that, that can really help this team. But we'll see how the Knicks do in that, and we'll see. So obviously, we know that you love your Mavs and your Mavs draft. Everyone knows who you are on Twitter. So let's talk about the Mavs and their draft. How did you feel about the draft? They drafted Josh Green, Tyrell Terry at 31 was just ridiculous that they got it. And then Tyler Bay. How do you feel about the Mavs draft?
Yeah, so I'm probably going to regret saying this because the last time I said something like this, it was not true. But I am confident in this one. This, relatively speaking, was the best draft that the Mavs have put together. Obviously, in 2018, they got Luka Doncic, but I feel like it's a lot easier to hit when you're in the top 5, top 3.
Exactly, yeah.
But the way they hit it out of the park, they took it seriously for the first time in a really long time. 2018, they took it seriously, obviously, but they saw a franchise changer. Cuban's always gone on record and been like, "Oh, I don't want he's star or nothing" a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he let Donnie Nelson just do his job. He saw the depth in this class. Josh Green, I've had him as my number 1 Mavs choice for a really long time. I was ecstatic to see him as the pick. Obviously, personally, I was a little bit sad to see Desmond Bane not be the guy because I was like the ambassador. Yeah, I was the ambassador for him to Dallas.
Yep.
But Josh Green just fits everything they need. Tyrell Terry at 31. I don't know how he didn't get picked in the first round. That still surprises me.
That's the number 1 head scratcher for me because I thought Tyrell. We were hearing he was going to go, maybe lottery or at least top 20, and for him to go 31 was kind of shocking.
I thought actually he was going to go to Orlando. I thought that was for sure going to be the pick. And then Tyler Bay at 35, 36, whatever 36, it was, on the 2-way, just to pretty much dance around the roster. I really loved how they took this draft seriously. It has the potential to be a 3 for 3 kind of draft. And that's just something I've never said with the Mavs before. So I loved what they did. And obviously they made a big trade, to get Tyler Bay. That was a pretty big splash. On an emotional level, I was sad. But they listened to Luka. I mean, Luka wanted them to take a wing, I'm sure, wanted them to take some defensive-minded guys. And they went on draft night and got 3 of them.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, especially with Tyrell Terry. I mean, to me, to get a guy of that value, who a lot of people probably had, I think I had him top 15. I was high on him, and to get him at 31, I mean, that might have been the ultimate value. With that potential, with Luka, I mean, that's scary. That's scary to add a player that, like of his caliber to this team. That's definitely scary for sure. And then Josh Green, who could do some stuff too. I think said the Mavs had one of the best drafts, in this draft for sure. They definitely did a lot to improve this team. For sure. How do you feel about, obviously they traded Steph Curry, who's a lights out 3-point shooter. How do you feel about, the move there, for Josh Richardson?
Yeah. So obviously, like I said, emotionally, I was bummed. Seth's a really good guy. I played 2K with him, and I don't know if those days are over now, but so like I said, on a personal level, I'm sad, but man, to get Josh Richardson for him, I personally think in a vacuum, Richardson is a better player. And when you put his defensive skill set next to Luka and the fact that he can handle the ball some, and I do think his scoring is underrated. It's always been underrated. I really liked that addition, a 1-for-1, and they got a draft pick.
And they got Tyler Bay for him. Yeah, they get Tyler Bay.
I have no clue. Like I said, I think they got the better player in the trade plus a high pick. That's absolutely incredible to me.
Yeah. And then obviously a lot of people were down on Josh Richardson because he didn't have the best season last year, adjusting with Philly and all that. But, this guy in Miami was a pretty good player, right? So, you're getting someone, if he gets back to that Miami form, you're getting a really good player, so, I think the Mavs, and then, like you said, the addition of getting the 36 pick, taking Tyler Bay, who can help you too. I think that's definitely good. Were there any other moves or were there any moves that you liked and disliked as far as the Mavs free agency? I know they added Tim Hardaway opted in, Willie Cauley-Stein edition. JJ Barrera is still in the NBA, JJ, he's still holding on, that veteran experience is always valuable though, in a way, but were there any moves or moves that you thought they should have made, as far as this offseason?
So a lot of Mavs fans were really upset, honestly, with how it played out in free agency. I guess they wanted the Mavs to sign marquee free agents that just weren't interested in coming to Dallas or not there, because there really just weren't any big free agents. I guess Christian Wood maybe, but even then, I don't know. Yeah. My thing is, I was so happy with the James Johnson trade. They dumped 2 negative assets. They got an expiring. They saved long-term money. They got the enforcer, and James Johnson actually isn't that terrible. He's better than both of those players
Yeah.
for the Mavs. Like, I would argue maybe DeLon could be better, but that was incredible. I don't really know how much better you could have done this free agency, or really this offseason, I should say, relative to how they, the expectations and what they looked like before. I really think they just blew it out of the water. Like I said, there's a lot of Mavs fans who said otherwise. I don't know. Maybe
I
just too
think they played
blind.
it right though, because I think they have their eyes on bigger things, especially next off season. I think there's bigger fish to in the sea for them, and this we all know, especially with this free agent class, it just wasn't particularly deep with a lot of game changers as far as that can help take the Mavs from a playoff team to being a championship team, which is of course the goal, right? You have a generational player like Luka, you have a really good player in Porzingis, when healthy. That's the big thing. He's got to stay healthy. So I think the Dallas, and Cuban are definitely, they're definitely, they didn't make, I think they played it smart. They didn't invest it in giving guys, crazy contracts, especially, when, like I said, next year is a big year for free agency and a potential to make some serious moves. So I think they played it perfectly this offseason. I don't know why Mavs fans would get upset. I know you want to keep getting better, but I think you gotta the bigger picture. You gotta look at the bigger picture.
No, we'll get mad about anything, dude.
Yeah,
there's people that don't want Giannis, so.
Trust me, I know. And I'm a Knicks fan, and we're trash. And there's people who don't want They don't want no one. They don't want any, anyone who's good. It's like, all right, we could keep being bad guys, but
it makes no damn sense, dude.
Yeah, especially when it comes to Giannis. And I think I truly think that they're gonna be in that sweepstakes if he doesn't, if he doesn't re-sign with, and he still has till what I think December 21st or something like that.
Something like that.
Around that time to decide whether he's gonna sign the super max. So I think Dallas, not to get off off the little topic a little bit, but to talk Giannis quick, I think Dallas is gonna be in it. I think Toronto's gonna be in it. Obviously, Milwaukee can give him the most money. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting, because I really think that Dallas has a good chance if he does opt out to get him, because the Luka. I mean, bam, Luka. That's all you got to do. Honest, when you do a free agent, your pitch, and everyone does their all you got to do is show a picture of Luka, and Mark Cuban just gonna be like, that's it, man. That's all I got for you. Take it or leave it. I'm not gonna go to the stadium and give you all this bill. Oh, Giannis and man. Nah, bro. You see that guy right there? That's it. Or just have him just waving in the back. Hey, it's the easiest pitch in the world.
Just have a fat head of Luka Doncic.
Exactly. That's all. That's literally, you save so much money and time, and you just put a fat head next to Mark Cuban, and you're just like, hey, Giannis, bam. That's who you're gonna be playing with. It's
like reverse Shark Tank.
Yes, it's reverse Shark Tank. Boom. That's just pitch. All right, I'm good. I'm in. All right, boom. We saved all this money. Everyone's spending millions of dollars on these elaborate pitches. Boom. Fat head of Luka right next to Cuban. Bam. That's the pitch. So that's I'm gonna go hit up Mark Cuban and be like, hey, just do that.
Yeah, that's I agree.
But yeah, I think I do think that's something that they're thinking about in the future. But we'll see what happens with Giannis does. But how optimistic are you with Porzingis? As far as this year and then the future, because the injuries. Listen, I know I'm a Knicks fan. He was on the Knicks. The injuries were a problem, and that's one of the reasons why they trade. We the Knicks shipped him off. As long, of course, everything else, but that was the main thing, was injuries and not knowing if he's worthy of a max. How do you feel about Porzingis, and what's your take on him and the future of Porzingis on this team?
Yeah, so I think he's still a cornerstone. I don't think the Mavs will trade him throughout his contract. The health is 100% a legit concern, though. I mean, he's not going to be back until January this year, or at least that's what we're seeing. Things could change, but that is an obstacle. That's why they need a third star.
Yes. Okay.
Because when Porzingis is healthy, it's all. I
Excellent.
mean, really, it's rainbows and butterflies for us. It's just it's not always that way.
Yeah, because he played like in the bubble. He was one of the best players. Like I think he was all bubble second team, whatever he was. He was great, but if he's not there, then Luca has to do so much more, and that's just going to tire him out. And then it's tough, and so I think they're going to look into seeing it's this is going to be a big year for Porzingis as far as the future. I believe because the health, like I said, the health is a big issue. The belt health is a big issue, so they have to figure out if he's going to be Luca's, Robin, if he could be, it could be that guy, because that's going to be big for them to take that next step. Is if Porzingis is healthy, like you said, the Mavs are going to be, in good shape and possibly, be a title contender. But if he's going to continue to go through his injuries and not be there, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. And in a loaded West, in a stacked West, like we know, how it is from top to bottom, that's tough to go grind. That grind is tough in the West. So, the health of Porzingis, to me, it literally dictates, your guy's season and the future, because healthy Porzingis, we all know what he could do when he's healthy. He's one of the best players in the league, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough if he's not back to being, the unicorn that we all know he is.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, he was all bubble team. The Mavs were the only team with two all bubble players. Like, I mean, it's the future of how far the Mavs go in the playoffs just really does depend on that. I mean, even this year in the bubble playoffs, like, I mean, he got hurt.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see. Porzingis. Hopefully, he stays healthy. I know, a lot of Knicks fans still can't stand him. I'm not one of those people. Like, I think we talked about this before. Like, there's Knicks Twitter still upset about the whole Porzingis thing, and they get on him with the injuries. I still miss him. I'm sorry, Knicks Nation. I miss him. He, before that injury, we had a lot of hope. There was a lot of optimism, and then the injury happened. And then, to me, the relationships with Phil and him, they kind of messed that whole thing up. I feel like the Knicks, they kind of screwed that whole up, and it hasn't been the same since. It's been a laughing stock, but Porzingis didn't do his favors with his representation, his brother, and all that. That didn't help either. And then you put that in New York, and it gets escalated to the nth degree. So but I still hope he does well, with everything. But we'll see. Hopefully that he stays healthy, because it's always good to see the best players healthy and all that. So so what's your predictions for this Mavs season? Where do you see them? Obviously, like I said, the West is always tough,
Man.
and it's getting tougher. Teams, the Lakers got better. A lot of Portland got better. A lot of teams got better. So what is the outlook of this season? What are your predictions for this season?
Yeah, in a normal year, I would say I mean, dude, I think this is the kind of year, obviously, because the games are different, that if you remember the 2014 season, I think it was whoever got 50 wins made the playoffs in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Like 50 was the number. 49 win or 48 win Suns didn't make it. They were the 9th seed.
George Hornacek team. Yeah, I remember that.
And I think that's going to be what happens this year. Obviously, the number is going to be a little bit deflated because of the number or because of the games, but probably 45 you have to hit. I mean, it's going to be a bloodbath. The Mavs have to stay healthy. We can't really, Mavs can't afford to see Luka go down anytime. He kind of has to play as many games as possible, like besides a game here and there. That's a concern, but kind of like we just talked about. I mean, dude, it all comes down to Porzingis. Like, let's be real. Luka can carry a team to wins, but I mean, the Mavs need Porzingis and Luka to be healthy to beat the top tier teams. Like, because they can hang, but in terms of where they sit in the final standings, it all comes down to health. I mean, my prediction for the season, it's a cop out, but the playoff teams in both conferences, it comes down to who can stay healthy. It's whether it's COVID or injuries. It's going to be who can avoid the least amount of I don't even know what you would call it, just obstacles, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's say Porzingis comes back in January. He's full go. Nothing happens. He's good to go for the rest of the season. How how good can this Mavs team be? How high in the standings you think they can get? Can they be up there with the Lakers and Denver and those teams?
Yeah, I don't think the Lakers or Clippers. I think they're still a tier above
Hmm.
everybody else. Um, Denver is at the best. That's the very best case scenario.
Hmm.
Um, is hanging with them. I think they can. They're right in the mix of their ceiling is wherever Denver is, just being right
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
In theory, because obviously if Denver ends up as the 12 seed somehow, that's not their ceiling.
yeah.
But but how we
If they
perceive their
fall to a
ceiling,
12 seed, man, a lot of bad things happen.
they're yeah yeah. But if I think they could be anywhere from a 3 at best. I feel like a homer saying 3, but probably 4 to 8. It wouldn't surprise me in any of those spots. I'd be very surprised to see below 8 and pretty
Mhm.
surprised to see above 4.
Okay, so and let's play the reverse role. Let's say Porzingis continues to battle injuries and just isn't 100%, and you got Luka missing some time. How do you think? Is there a world where you could see Dallas with all those things happening, injuries and all that, not making the playoffs?
I want to say no. I really do because Rick Carlisle is just that good and the team is pretty
Hmm.
deep, I think. But it, man, I think a 7 or 8 seed would be their ceiling.
Hmm.
I wouldn't be willing to say that they would be much higher. I've seen Rick take teams like the 2016 Mavs had no business being a playoff team. They won a playoff game
Yeah.
against it was hard or sorry, not Harden, Durant's last year in Oklahoma City, and they won a game against that team.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I'm a big believer in Rick Carlisle, so I don't want to. I don't think that this team misses the playoffs under like most circumstances, but anything's possible. Sorry, that's a cop out answer. I
No,
don't
no,
see it though.
yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting to see. What do you think's been the biggest thing with Dallas as far as a guy like Rick Carlisle has been the coach for you know how many? 12 plus years. It feels like he's been
Yeah,
there for a while.
12. Yep.
Yeah. So like most coaches, they would have got tired of, most owners get tired of their coaches and they fire them. I know being in New York, it feels like we go through coaches every 2 years, and even coaches, that have 5, 6 year, spans with teams. Eventually they get tired of them and they fire them. And in most cases, if any other owner was in this position and they had Carlisle for this long, like they would have got rid of him by now because they're like, all right, they went through the whole years with Dirk and all that, and then the transition, and obviously, you get Luka now, so now there's a new transition and the new teams and all that, and but so why do you think Mark Cuban keeps going with Carla, and why does this team be consistently, and they're always in it? It just seems like for the last 15 whatever 20 years, this consistency. What do you think's the biggest thing with that?
Yeah, I mean, dude, they've always had someone to. I think it's a multitude of things. Like Dirk was always a guy who could carry.
Hmm.
Luka can clearly carry too. Uh, Depth somehow, like the bench depth, the Mavs have never had bad benches, even when they've had a bad bench on paper.
Hmm.
Um, they've had teams that had fringe NBA guys be one of the best benches in the NBA. Because every year I'll see my friends talk smack and they'll be like, "Oh, the Mavs have nobody on their bench." Like once Luka comes in, and the Mavs are always top 5. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I do think most of it though is Rick Carlisle. Like his ability just to play to everybody's strengths that they all buy in is
Hmm.
just it's unmatched. There's a reason he's a consensus top 5 coach for the most part. Like you would never know it on Mavs Twitter. There's a lot of Mavs fans who think that he's the wrong coach and Jason Kidd or someone like that should step in. Yeah,
No,
that's all I got to say
no,
about it,
no.
dude.
You don't want Jason Kidd to be your head
That's all
coach.
I got to
No,
say too. Yep.
no. Maybe the point he was good. He was good in his
Oh
role
yeah.
there with a chip, but to be a head coach, no, 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 no. He was in the
Mm-mm.
running for the Knicks job, and I was like, no, I don't want to see that. Like, no. We saw what he did
No.
in Brooklyn with a pretty good team, didn't do much, and then in Milwaukee, everyone gives him credit for Giannis, but it's like, okay, how come the next year they win? They get to the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's like, all right. That's
Yep.
enough with the Jason Kidd. Let him he's a good assistant coach. Let him be in
Yeah.
LA with LeBron and do that. He's fine in that role. Not as the head man in charge. No.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just, to me, I love that the consistency and just believing him, right? Like you said, you go to transition from Dirk, and then then you get Luka, and then but there's always consistency. There's always there's just a lot of continuity. And it seems like with Mark Cuban, he just understands that's important. And to stick with Rick and just understand that he's the right man for the job. You don't need to just fire him simply to fire him because, that's the phase in the NBA where coaches get fired like this and that, it's good to have that feeling. And I think that for a lot of players, they like that. They like knowing that, all right, Rick is going to be our guy. That's our coach. Boom. We don't got to worry about, oh man, what happens if we get a new coach, the system changes and all that about, nah. Rick's our guy, and that's good. And that's what I love about Mark. Like he's all in and he's always trying to get this team better. And like you said, the consistency, I think we see too many coaches just, get fired after a year or 2 years and constant changing. And you see Dallas and they're just like, all right, Rick's our guy, and I think that's important is that the consistency and just, it's important. And I think that, his reputation around the league is high and, what he's done with Luka now, like he goes from having Dirk all those years, then has to go through Dirk downfit, right? The last few years of Dirk, he's an aging superstar, he's still, he's not Dirk no more, at this point, you're just doing the parade. You're like, showing him off like, all right, it's his last, and you got to deal with that. And that's tough to deal with because you have to figure out, all right, I got to play the guys, other guys because Dirk's not Dirk no more. And then boom, you get Luka.
Dude, it's crazy. And speaking of Dirk, how lucky are we that Dirk retired when he did and not decided that he didn't decide that he wanted to play a 22nd season because that could have been disastrous.
Yeah. That's I'm sure Mark had those conversations like, all right, bro, we can't do this again.
On that front too. Whew.
Yeah. This is Luka's team now. This is Luka's team. So, it's and to go back to Luka is like, we look at the trade, right? The trade that happens with Atlanta, right? And you guys, the swap pretty much Trae Young. And is there a trade in the history of the league where both teams win heavily and both guys in year 2 become all-stars and all, like Luka was all NBA, all bubble, all everything, right? He's hitting half court buzzer beaters. Like this, I know early on, like super early in the process, people were like, oh man, Atlanta's dumb. Look what they did, but as we got to let guys play and grow, I feel like, we react too quick. We saw Trae Young's ball, and then we saw what happened. He did in year 2. We saw Luka did in year 2. Like that trade was a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
It's one of the rare trades where both teams win. Usually it's one team wins and the other team is like, oh, we got nothing in return. Like, both teams win this trade. Both franchise, and you saw what Atlanta's doing. They're on the rise. They made a lot of good moves. And Dallas is obviously, you guys have Luka and Porzingis and flexibility to get someone next year to add. Both teams win.
Yeah.
You don't see that.
And the only way Dallas lost was not actually in the trade. It was the fact that they had to trade because I've never seen a team with such bad luck. So in 2019, let's go backwards in this. In 2019, the Pelicans and Grizzlies had equal odds for getting in the top 3. Only the Mavs of those 3 didn't get in. Yeah. The year before, in 2018, the Mavs lost a tiebreaker to the Hawks, which ended up hurting the Mavs. Or maybe they won. Yeah, the Mavs won the tiebreaker for a top 3 pick. And then they got the 5th pick. They got leapfrogged. And it's like, you can't make it up. And then because of that, they had to give up a pick, which hurt. I did think that kind of would have been nicer to have the even years gone for the draft. I would have much rather had a pick in 2021 than 2020, but you make do with what you got. But yeah, the Mavs are the unluckiest team in the draft lottery. Like it's really not close. I don't think. Like the fact that they had to trade a pick is just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know about unluckiest. There's a team in New York. It's pretty unlucky.
Yeah. Hey, that's true. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we literally every year the Knicks have never, gotten the pick that they were projected to get. If they're at projected 1, they get 3. If they're at 5, they get 7. It's always 2 slots down. Rich, it's always 2 slots down.
Y'all got Patrick Ewing though, so I mean, like
that was like I wasn't even born yet. I'm 31. Same. I wasn't even born yet. Like that was the first year of the lottery, and we've never won the lottery since. We've never even had the number. I think the highest pick was last year when we got RJ. It was a 3 pick. Like I think, but you know what? We kind of deserve it because we've been kind of trash and we haven't done things properly. So the NBA gods are punishing us and making us do it the hard way, but in a way that I think we need to do. And I think I like what they're doing. I do like what the Knicks are doing. Not just like how Dallas did. They didn't just sign a bunch of guys just to sign guys because they needed it. They signed a bunch of 1-year guys and just keep that cap open. Be as flexible as possible and just go about it. But pretty unlucky with the lottery odds too. Like I just wanted last year. Like just give us two.
Yeah.
Just give us two
Yeah,
last year. I would have
that's
been
fair.
happy. I think the optimism.
No, that's definitely fair.
Yeah, I think the optimism with Knicks fans would be a lot higher if we had gotten Ja at least, right? Everybody obviously we want Zion, of course. Who didn't? But if we got Ja, I think that there's a be high. And I listen, I love RJ Barrett. I think he could be a good player, but there's more. We know what we're gonna get with Ja, and we're gonna get with Zion. Those are guys could be all stars this year. RJ, we still don't know. And yes, obviously the team, how they built the team was god awful last year, right? They signed
all the power forwards,
a bunch of power forwards. It's not like you signed or you signed a stretch four, or you signed, they all played the same position. So that's what didn't make sense last year. But this year's different. And hopefully, the Knicks are on to better, and bigger and better things in the future.
dude.
But
I hope so. I mean, I want the Knicks to be good. Like, I don't hate the Knicks. My brother lives in New York. Like, I have no reason to hate the team. Like, and man, like, I'd like to see the Knicks be back. Because it's been since 2014, 15, maybe.
2012, 2013 season was the last time they made the playoffs. Yeah.
Okay. I vividly remember that because that was the year I think Melo was hitting the game winners over Chicago, right? Or like the two big shots.
That was just a magical year. They won. Man. I think they won 54 games, 2 seed. But they built that team to beat Miami, and they forgot about Indiana. That was lurking, and we didn't know. I don't think anyone thought Indiana would pop, but that was Paul George's like come out season. I mean, that's the year he dunked on Birdman hard.
Yeah,
in that next round. So, but yeah, we'll see. They had to do things the hard way, but you know what? This is. Doing it this way is a way that I think, they should have done last year instead of just, like I said, signing a bunch of guys for no reason to long-term deals. Just, you struck out on KD and Kyrie and you just wait it out, just wait it out. But, we'll see how that goes. I don't want to talk too much, Knicks. I talk about them too much. I don't want to. I am excited about the season to start and to watch them play and to see, RJ, see if he takes that next step and Mitch, and if we get anything out of like guys like Knox or Dennis Smith Jr. What Dennis Smith Jr. was a Dallas man. How do you feel about that? I know he went through a lot of stuff last year in, family wise and injuries, and he just did not look the same. What's your take on Dennis Smith Jr.? Do you think he could bounce back, or does he need to go somewhere else, to possibly get whatever he can out of his game?
Yeah, so I got a couple of things about him. So I wasn't that high on him on draft night. I wasn't too happy that the Mavs got him. I really, and if you remember, I don't think you were around. I only had like 500 followers on 2017 draft night.
Flex.
But
now you got like what?
You
got 7,000, right? That was a nice flex.
No, I wish. I wish.
I only had 500. Now I got like 6,000.
No, I mean it was like tiny. It was like 10% of what I got now. And like, I was all in on Donovan Mitchell. Like he was my guy. I'm like, the Mavs need to take this guy. Like I was like, Dennis Smith is like, he's raw. He could be good. He's not Russ. He's just the same level athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I've never been too high on him. So I have a little bit biased of a perspective, but I do think that he does need to change the scenery. I don't think New York can really salvage what they got. And unfortunately, that means New York has to sell low. But that it's not all New York. I don't know if he's ever going to be. I think he peaked in Dallas. Rick Carlisle used him really well. It was almost some empty stats. But the thing with him is that he's just so predictable when he drives. And like that's a death wish for an athletic point guard. Like because you can have the burst and all the physical tools. If you don't know how to actually use it to be winning and good, it really cuts about how effective you can actually be as it, because what he did in Dallas, he would always predetermine his moves. If he wanted to beat his man right, it did not matter if it was going to be cut off. He was still going right. Or, you know, if he had a finish he wanted to go through, he wanted to dunk on someone, it did not matter. And sometimes it looked cool when it worked, but I just, it's rough seeing how he's gone through. But I mean, I don't know. He needs the right system around him. That's why he worked in Dallas. Rick really knew how to use him.
Mhm.
I think New York should probably look to trade him. I really do think Charlotte's a good spot for him. I know they have LaMelo and Rozier and Graham
Mhm.
and someone else who I'm missing, but coming home, Borrego would probably be good for him. That's
Yeah.
just
I
spitballing.
I just think he just needs to work on other facets of his game. Like we all know he's super athletic and all that, but like you said, he's super predictable and he can't really shoot at all.
Yep.
Even before, the injuries last year, I mean, he was just super inefficient and like you said, a predictable player and is not a traditional point guard. He's not going to, his vision's not, elite or anything like that. He's not going to do anything special there. And he's got to be able to expand his game. He's got to be able to, no pun intended, he's got to be able to move off the ball, stuff like that, where, or pun intended. Okay, maybe I did do that on purpose. Yeah, it's funny not to go out, but every time I've been here off the ball, like since it's the name of my show, and I hear it so many times now. It's just like every time I hear off the ball, take a shot. I probably get drunk every night, but he got to work on more of his game. I root for him because I feel like he went through so much last year, and he is talented. But like I said, even before all the stuff from last year happened, these were things he had to work on. So I root for him, and I don't think it's in New York. I really don't think. I think he's a lame duck in New York. I don't think he's a part
Yep.
of the future. I don't think they're looking into him. Like I see a lot of people, a lot of Knicks, not on Knicks Twitter, like they want him to be the starting point guard, and I'm like, oh my god, no. I've seen polls, bro. I actually retweeted one a couple days ago, and it came down to Ntilikina and Dennis Smith Jr. I was like, if we start to see, and because this is because everyone hates Elfrid Payton, and I understand why people don't like him, but he's the best option at point guard, right now. Currently, with the roster currently, he is the best point guard on this team. He should be starting. The poll, it was like 3% for Elfrid Payton, and it was Ntilikina, Dennis Smith Jr. and Austin Rivers, who's not even a point guard. So it's like, I'm like, guys, what are we doing here? Like, this is who you like. Like, we just can't go off the potential we think of Dennis Smith Jr. Like, he's not a point guard. Like, he's not.
Yep.
Like, I'd rather Elfrid Payton. At least he could run the team. Like, he can't shoot and all that, but he could run the team better than with whoever's on the roster right now. Like, I was like, okay, if we have to start with Frank or or Dennis Smith Jr., that's rough at point guard.
Yeah, and dude, I mean, I'm a Magic fan as well as Mavs. Like, so I get the Elfrid Payton hate. Magic fans hated him too, but I mean, I don't know how you feel about Frank, but he's probably better. I mean, Frank is probably more well-rounded, but he's not better, at running the offense. Like, where does Frank stand? Like, do you think he's a Knick next year?
I don't know. I've heard people, a lot of Knicks people I trust, and they said he's probably gone too. Like he's not long term.
Yeah.
Like it sounds good because you think Tibbs, you think defense, and Frank obviously is a defensive player, but long term, I mean, I don't see. I think they're gonna clean house too. Like with a lot of these guys, and they're even gonna have to think about Mitch because they're gonna have to, possibly give him an extension, and if he does him, expand his game too, is he worth giving whatever amount, $15 million a year, $18 million a year, which you might have to give him. So, but Frank, I think he is what he is. He's a rotational guard. I'm not gonna, I know there's the Ntilikina hive is crazy, which it mind boggles me how crazy it is. But people wanting to start a point guard, I'm like, he's not really a point guard. He's not he's not a lead guard where he can set up the offense. Like he can handle the ball a little bit, like you said. You can never have enough ball handlers, but as your lead point guard, when you got RJ Barrett and you got Toppin and you got athletes that you need to, I think the Knicks need to go. That's why I really wanted a point guard to run up and down. Like Kyra would have been perfect to me. I thought Kyra Lewis would have been perfect for this team, with RJ and Mitch and the open court. But, that's one position they really got to figure out is that point guard. I just don't think they're good. I've heard Lonzo rumors and those have been, crazy, but, they got to figure out who that point guard is, and I don't know who that is. I don't think their future point guard's on the roster right now, at all. I don't know how they're going to go about it. I don't know if does it involve a trade mid-season or however. I just don't think, I don't think this is what they wanted to go into the season with the point guard situation. That's why they kind of had to re-sign Elfrid Payton. But I think it's really, to me, to maximize Toppin, RJ, Mitch, they got to get a point guard to help, with this team, because I just don't see the guys right now being, help maximizing those guys.
Yeah, and dude, I mean, I think I really do think that this is a year to get a lead guard. I mean, if you get lucky for once in the lottery, maybe we're jinxing it by talking about how unlucky.
I pray every day.
Yep. Hey, I mean, this is a strong class. It is a strong class, and even if you don't get that point guard, there's a nice amount of combo guards in this class. I mean, hell, even Scotty Barnes, who we haven't seen yet, from Florida State, he's 6'9", and he was put on the point of what I forget what the name is, but there's the watch list they do. He was on the point guard one.
Yeah.
Like it's so crazy to me. I mean, you got Jalen Suggs is pretty damn good.
He's good. He's a good one.
I don't think this guy's really point guard, but Jalen Green. I mean, dude, he's good. There's a lot of talent in this draft. There is a lot of talent to be excited for. This is a year to get a top 10 pick.
Yeah, there's the blue chip guys. I think that we didn't see from last year. Last year's just 2020. I think the depth it might be better than 2021, but 2021 is the guys that those are your generational players that you could possibly get. Those your Lucas or your Trae Young. Those are the guys that are franchise changing players, and I think that's why. I think a lot of teams like the Knicks are going to look into this and okay, and maybe that's their thought process is all right, we're not going to be good. Okay. So why go chase after Fred VanVleet or Danilo Gallinari, which are guys who are rumored to the Knicks for a long time? Why go after those guys and still not be a good basketball team when we could just save that money? And listen, like we said, the Knicks always tend to not strike gold in the lottery, but hey, you got to be in it to win it, So we're going to be a bad team. This draft is deep. Even if we don't get the number one pick, we could get a top 4 or 5 pick. We could get but still a player that can be a perennial all-star. Like you just said, there's a bunch of dudes, maybe that's their thinking, maybe they're thinking, I don't know, but that's just kind of how I feel because, like you said, they didn't get any point guard that's going to, really make people, feel good about this, season. But like you said, there's some dogs. Let's talk. I want to talk about one guy in particular, and obviously he's the flavor of the week. Obviously, with college basketball starting, and it's Cade. We've been, I think everyone was sick of the 2020 draft because they just want to talk about Cade, right? I see everyone posting Cade clips.
Yeah,
they love Cade. I actually saw one person say that they don't think he's that good, and I was like, all right, bro, you're judging off one game where he's trying to all right. I'm like, and then he's like, all right, my bad. I overreacted. And I'm like, all right, good, because bro, he's really good. You just can't judge off one game. What? He's good. Let's talk about Cade. How good is he, and how good can he be? Because there's still things he could work on, and that's scary too.
Yeah, I mean, as he gets better shooting off the dribble, and shooting consistency in general, I think the shot will. I mean, it's not great by any means now, but I mean, it's very projectable. It's one of those things where it's he's going to be good. At the worst, he's average as a shooter,
which is fine because if you're great at everything else and you're an average shooter, that's pretty good.
You're still 35-36% from three. It's not anything to scoff at. He's powerful slasher. As he fills out his frame, he's going to only get better. Probably the best passer we've seen since Luka Doncic. Honestly, probably the closest prospect to Luka Doncic we've seen. In just any way. And I know it's only been 2 drafts in between, but I think there's a lot to like on Cade. Defense is kind of hard to tell. I think he'll sag off a lot. I think he's going to take some plays off just because it's the trend of the number one picks, especially at bad teams. But he has the upside. I mean, the size, shooting, passing, IQ, all of it, that combination is just unprecedented. I think it would take a catastrophic injury, God forbid, for Cade not to go number one.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like when Ben Simmons was at LSU. Like
Yep.
doesn't have a lot of talent around him, but you just see you're gonna see him, and you're like, wow, okay, he's special. He's
Yep.
special. Same thing we saw with Ben. Like, all right, his team's trash, and they're not gonna make the tournament, and Oklahoma State can't make the tournament anyway because of sanctions and all that. But they might not be. They'll probably creep around 500 or a little bit better than that. But he's special. He's definitely special, and it's him and a bunch of other guys, like I said, Jalen Green and Kaminga. There's a bunch of guys that
Yeah.
that are special, that could possibly be special talents. I like Mobley too from USC.
Yeah.
He's a good one. I think this could be a really good class, and like I said, a lot of blue chippers potentially in this class. So that's why I think a lot of people are excited about this college basketball season because of like I said, Jalen Suggs. I mean, this is a bunch of dudes where that can really play. So it's going to be interesting to see how this college season plays out and going forward. So all right, so before we get off this, let's go back to the Mavs and let's have a little fun with this one. Let's do your all-time starting Mavs lineup, and we'll do point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, and then we'll end it with a 6-man. All right, so let's go.
All right.
Who's your starting point guard?
So the Mavs actually put this out a year, or like in the off season or the hiatus, and Luka made it. A lot of people were mad, but let's be real. Only one player in Mavs history has had a better peak than what Luka Doncic is doing now. And it's arguable. You could say Luka has already eclipsed Dirk's highest high. I don't agree, but there's an argument to be made.
For sure.
So let's start at point guard, I think, because Luka is not the point guard. I think you go. This is the hardest part. This is the hardest one. You go. I'm going to trust you on this. Steve Nash or Jason Kidd. Because they have different, like in a vacuum, I know who I would choose, but for the Mavs, it's different.
I guess I would go with Nash because his prime is really good, and Jason Kidd was obviously the back end of his career, even though he's super valuable in your championship run. So you got to include that because he was a big factor in winning a championship. So, man, that is tough.
And Kidd played at the beginning of his career in Dallas.
Too. Yeah. Oh, you're right. I totally forgot about that. Right. You're right. He was rookie. He was co-rookie of the year with Grant Hill. I really forgot for a second that he.
No, it's a forgotten thing.
It's but yeah. Okay, so now
I'm gonna go Kidd. I think you're just talking me into Jason Kidd.
Nah, yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Because because obviously you think about the end of his career, winning a championship, that you forget that he was drafted by the Mavs. So yeah, no, you know what, Jason Kidd, especially early Jason Kidd was special. So yeah, I think I go Jason Kidd too.
So we'll go Jason Kidd. Man, this is gonna kill me to have to leave off. There's gonna be two guys that one of them doesn't make it, like in even the 6-man. I'm going to go Finley at shooting guard and then Luka at small forward, I guess. The wings, they'll be the wings. That hurts not to have Blackman. And then spoiler alert with the bench. I mean, I'm going to have to decide between Jason Terry and Rolando Blackman now. And that is not a decision I was prepared to make.
No. All right. So you got Jason Kidd at the point. We got Finley at the 2. We got Luka at the 3, right? You said?
Yep. And then this might come as a surprise, but power forward will be Dirk.
Oh man, I you know what? I didn't see that one coming at all. I didn't see that. That kind of shocked me.
Yeah, and then center. God, James Donaldson was pretty damn good here. I wasn't around for him, so I have a bias because the other guy I was very much around for, and he'd helped deliver a championship and was good in his second year here. But I think I have to go. I'm going to go Tyson Chandler, even though I think that might be the objectively wrong decision. I'll fully acknowledge that I shouldn't have gone that route. But
can't go wrong with that. I mean,
Donaldson, I think, was on the team that almost beat the Lakers in '89.
Mm-hmm.
But man, that is. I'm on a Knicks podcast. You know what? Yeah, Tyson Chandler. No, not even looking back. And I forgot about
Tyson Chandler, defensive player of the year for the Knicks. So hey.
Yeah. Well, yep. And this dude, like I said, and then 6-man. I'm going Rolando Blackman because that that guy is for the
Over
longest
Terry?
time.
Over Terry?
Yeah, where Terry really was the sixth man
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
and over Harper. I mean, again, Nick's
Harper,
podcast,
yeah,
so like
yeah.
I
Oh,
know my
yeah.
audience, but which hurts. But
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Blackman. People don't realize how good that guy was, and
Oh,
he's
of
still
course.
pretty around in Dallas. Like I know it doesn't actually matter for on court for all time starting five and
Mm-hmm.
six man, but I don't know. Blackman's probably the most underrated Mav. Like he's one of three guys to have his jersey retired. The others Derek Harper and Brad
Mm-hmm.
Davis. So I don't know. I went with Blackman just because I think he would kill it in today's game too. Like he was a 20+ guy with no problem in the 80s and 90s, like
Mm-hmm.
or 80s, excuse me, I think. But man, like I really like Blackman, so he's my six man.
Got
Would
you.
you have gone any different route?
No, that's definitely a good starting lineup, and I may have, I think I may have gone Terry at six man simply because like I think six man especially all time, he's just one of those guys that you just think like in like
Yeah.
what he did in the finals, like he was just simply great in the finals and helping deliver a championship. But that can't go wrong with that. And like I said, I would have went Nash before forgetting that Jason Kidd did start off his career in Dallas, and but yeah, that's a good lineup. I mean, you're all these guys in their prime. That's a good lineup. You're gonna do pretty well. You're gonna do pretty well. Dirk in his prime. You got Tyson Chandler. Getting blocking shots and playing defense. Luca, obviously Finley, J Kidd. That's J Kidd to Tyson in the prime on pick and rolls.
Oh,
Like
yeah. You had it at the other end. Yeah,
yeah,
that's right. You'd seen the Jason Kidd Tyson Chandler connection.
yeah.
Just
We saw
not
it
at the
from
right time.
yeah. We got them. We got Jason Kidd. Even though Jason Kidd in that 1 year with the Knicks, he was I was in the last playoff team. He was good for us. He was good for us. But all right. So I'm gonna give you one more thing. I this is
Sure.
one more thing. Let's do the Mount Rushmore of Mavs. This is
Okay.
tough. Let's do your Mount Rushmore. I want to hear your Mount Rushmore of Dallas Mavericks.
So I'm keeping Luca off of it.
Okay.
Not fair. I wouldn't put him up there
No.
as
Yes.
great as he is. Yeah, it's definitely Dirk.
Of course.
Obviously, is the head of it.
Yeah, I think he's. I think if you don't have Dirk, then there's something really wrong with you.
Yeah. So that's a no-brainer. But man, I would say Michael Finley has to be up there.
Okay.
Michael
Finley in an NBA Live
he was so
03,
good. I
like from
love
that
his.
02 to like 05. He was
Mhm.
one of the best players in that game. I know, super random, but NBA Live legend.
No,
He's
no,
definitely an all NBA Live player.
yeah, no, and you're 100% right. He was very good in those games. I remember that as a kid as well. Man, I'm gonna put Blackman up there. Definitely
Okay.
putting him up there. I don't know who the fourth is. I don't know who to choose.
It's tough.
I might go Harp, but I don't feel confident in that one. And I wish I could say Nash because obviously iconic, but he just didn't spend long enough here. Man, I don't know who the fourth would be. Who are you thinking? Like, because I'm having the hardest time with this. You just want to see me struggle.
That's tough. No, this is really tough. You got a few options here. Like I feel like if Nash had spent a few more years, I think Nash definitely would have been in that. But I wouldn't put him there. But man, that is tough.
Yeah, man, this is definitely one of the hardest ones I've.
It's definitely one of the most hardest Mount Rushmores to do.
Yeah, because only one of those guys would be on a Mount Rushmore on just about every other team. So it's like man, I might. I don't know. I might go Kidd because he was.
Kid?
I'll go with Jason Kidd. That was a weak answer, but
Oh, okay. How about this? It doesn't even have to be a player. It could be a
oh, okay,
fixture.
fine. Rick Carlisle.
Okay. Carlisle over Cuban?
Yeah, I mean, okay, fine, Cuban.
Cuban, yeah, okay. I made it easier. Yeah. We'll go Cuban, yeah. because Cuban came in and you guys were struggling right before
Yeah.
Cuban came in, and he kind of just he made the Mavs cool. Like I remember I think they were doing like they were touring the Mavs locker room, and this is like more like early to mid 2000s, and like everyone had a PlayStation or Xbox in their thing. I'm like, wow, he's the greatest owner of all time. Like I would be thrilled to have a PlayStation. It was like PlayStation 2, whatever, Xbox 360.
Yep.
Like everyone had one. I was like, oh, like no other team has every player on the team have a PlayStation or Xbox. Like you wouldn't
Yeah.
think about that, but he made it so player friendly that he was like, all right, give it everyone, and you just see the locker rooms, which are so cool and all that. So I would put I would put Cuban in that Mount Rushmore of Dallas Mavericks. He changed basketball. Period. Like
Yeah.
he changed a lot of basketball. I mean, and just as far as the owner, like that up front owner, like we didn't see owners so into the game. Like most owners who would they would just sit back and just sip their drink and
Yep.
just just cheer, clap. But he was like in their face. He was in the huddle. He was getting fined. He was yelling at refs.
Yeah. No, he had no filter. He stuck up for everyone.
Mm-hmm. He's a real one. So all right. So we got Derek Finley, Blackman, Cuban as your Mount Rushmore. So that's a good list for sure. So but yeah, Rich, this was fun, bro.
Yeah,
This was really
I
fun.
appreciate you having me on, as always.
Yeah. Like I said, always a pleasure having you on. Always cool to chop it up, and all that. So before we sign off, where can people find you? Where can people find your work? Because like you said, you're one of the best follows as far as drafts coverage and all that. On that I've been interacted with. So I'm always checking out your stuff. But where can the people find your stuff?
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm at Mavs Draft on Twitter, and I post most of my stuff to mavsdraft.com.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Like I said, man, this was a pleasure, brother.
Likewise.
It's like I said, always fun to talk to you. Like I said, you're one of the reasons why I got into the draft and all this. My first year, really getting deep into the draft. So
Yeah.
I definitely looked at a lot of your stuff and got to understand these players more. And like I said, you're killing it. Your fan base is getting bigger. You're everyone knows his Mav draft and all that. So you got that. That's who you are. You're not Richard. You're Mav draft.
Yeah. No, it's true. I appreciate a lot of. I do. I appreciate that so much. Like,
yeah,
I really do.
yeah, no doubt. Like I said, man, you're one of the best out here. Like I said, like before I did these podcasts, I never knew a world like this existed where there's other people that actually evaluate guys. I thought it was just the Mike Schmitz and that was it. There was one guy. But there was one guy that knew everything about the draft. I didn't know anyone else did. But like I said, always a pleasure talking to you, brother. Like I said, continue success with everything you have going on. And like I said, I know you were tired of the 2020 draft, so get some rest and get ready for the 2021 draft. Season starts soon.
This week is like the real first week too. So
yeah.
Like I feel like this first week was for the most part a tune-up. So yeah, dude, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
No doubt. So like I said, I'll make sure to post all the links to for Rich and where you can follow him, where you can follow. You got a podcast, right? Where can the people find your podcast?
Yeah. It's on Spotify and Apple Music for right now.
Okay, cool. And what's it called again?
The Mavs Draft podcast. Draft. Pretty simple.
Yep. He's staying on brand. Mavs Draft everything, bro. We can have Mavs Draft hat, Mavs Draft hoodies, everything, bro. But yeah, I'll post all the links before in the description when this podcast comes out this week. But like I said, Rich, be safe. Hope your family's safe. It's COVID's getting crazy, so make sure you're safe and everyone. But like I said, this was fun, brother. Let's do this again. And on that note, guys, be safe. Everyone be kind to each other. And Hoops coming back soon, so we'll get right back into this. And on that note, peace, guys.